Yo, what's up YouTube? I'm Max, and this is my affirmation video of a book I've been copying through the Napoleon Hill Foundation called 3 Feet from Gold. And this is my affirmation journal. This is my affirmation video, so I'm just affirming it 2 times. So you can just listen to what I have to say as I just sit here and repeat it back to my brain. And you can see all my other videos. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. So, you can just listen along and hear what I have to say as I am telling you a story. I'm Max, and this is the launch, chapter 21. The last chapter here, and 3 Feet from Gold from the Napoleon Hill Foundation, and I really appreciate you all for putting such a lovely book together for me to write down. That's a minute. This is chapter 21, the launch. With the last piece in place, having Sharon Letcher at the helm of the project, the book now had moved rapidly. Buckland's yacht party had only verified that Greg was on the right track. He felt a renewed excitement about the book. He was as if someone has written the script for him. Sharon continued, living up to the interview. After the interview, he had brought new faces into the messages, which had been inviting and igniting, and their new excitement of life. Their new excitement for the project. Their new excitement for a relation. Their new excitement. They're excited for the project. More importantly, she had set up meetings with her contacts. And if this is my affirmation video, so if I repeat anything into my brain, it's because I'm just reaffirming it to myself. She set up meetings with her contacts in publishing, just as the junk man had sought expert counsel that brought him millions. The new author was following in the same path in new association with Sharon. Suddenly, people had shared the proposal and nearly fell out of their chairs in anticipation, with stating that they couldn't help but be in a better place for such a project and a better time. And he had pointed that every time he had opened up a newspaper across the nation, the headlines read pandemic, the headlines read outbreak, the headlines read sickness, the headlines read disease, the headlines read everything that is possibly negative and wrong with this world. Economic disaster, housing bubble burst, foreclosures, bankruptcies, etc., etc., everything that's possibly negative that people just consume into their brains and then reflect it back into their world. Isn't it great? Anyways, without any end in sight, libraries are all closed. Can't even get your hair cut. I'm just doing this for the times right now because the times are real. With the stock market in shambles, there was an overwhelming agreement in the world that they could really use this book. It would provide hope and guidance from successful business leaders of all the current generation who willingly shared and had become able to persevere and to keep their passions burning despite adversity, despite them. And by not giving up, they were able to allow the miracles to happen. On one of their weekly calls, Sharon updated Greg and Don about the progress. "Hi, Greg." "Hi, Don," she said as he joined in the call. "I just would like to get off the line and another publisher and just agreed that this is the great time for a book about helping people maintain a positive outlook through the darkest economic conditions or times." Even without prompting, they mentioned that Think and Grow Rich was published during the Great Depression, that it gave millions the hope and courage to find a confidence not only to survive the depression, but to build a great new businesses that brought financial stability back to their communities, businesses that had created personal wealth. I that have over this book and the same hope and courage to find you people here today. It will go kaboom. Greg shouted. "In fact, I now realize more than ever that the very nuggets of wisdom we wrote about here were which were keeping me going through the tough times." Actually, Sharon had thoughtfully was understanding that we are all facing here personal challenges of our own, in which was the project was still coming along. But it's hard to feel the story of yourself and think that you are all alone while you're constantly reading and rereading all these great leaders and had gone through themselves. I thought if they could persevere, I could too. Whenever they had a particular challenge and day and time, I would focus on this project and find the courage and faith to keep going. Sharon continued, in fact, all of these experts had tremendous faith in common. They had faith that they could find their responsibilities. They had faith that they could find their talents and take the action and the right association, and eventually good things will come to pass, just like you, Greg. Even in your darkest hour, you have found the faith to keep going. In fact, I think we need to add that faith to be a part of the success equation. It's what binds all of the pieces together. She added, so now the equation would be read as P plus T times A plus F equals success. Don said, I couldn't agree more. Faith is an essential element of perseverance. It is the secret sauce of success in an equation. I am confident that this book will provide the hope and faith and the courage that so many people need today. Now we just need a publisher that agrees with this and the same faith, and we all do. And Greg said hopefully agreed, and it appears as though the various publishers I've talked to are finally starting to get it. Now, let's see as we serve up a plate and it becomes the voice behind these new great leaders, Sharon said. Buckland asked us to give him the others the update on when we hear back from their offers and from the publishers. Okay, let's set up a meeting about this next month. That should give us enough time to get back from everyone we have met with. The pages of the calendar flew by until the date of the meeting arrived. Greg and Sharon met Don Green in the great Buckland in the World Capitol buildings of boardroom. Buckland opened up the first conversation. Okay, kids, let's hear it. What's the status of the project? Sharon answered the fact that we don't have a single offer. The shoulders of the guests dropped. Actually, we have 4 offers. Actually, we probably have way more than that. She continued with a smile. They all cheered. That's wonderful, Don Green said, with which we are going with. Great question was said. Sharon passed out a schedule with the publishers in which was respected and which was detailed on a lovely spreadsheet, which was very detailed description of how I want my life to go. Over the next 3 hours, the group argued, discussed, and debated the opportunities before them, weighing each pro and con until they had decided on one final organization. This is it. This is the one, Don said, pointing to the thoroughly marked grease board above them, before them, around them. Do we all agree that this is our publisher? Agreed. That they all said in unison? Let's show them our appreciation by getting out there and really promoting the book in a major way, suggested Buckland. We owe it to them. We owe it to the people who interviewed, and we owe it to the folks who are going to read this book and create a value from the messages within. Greg added, let's make it a huge success as a tribute to Charlie. Let's make it a huge success as a tribute to Napoleon Hill. Charlie Jones had lost his battle with cancer just weeks before his meeting. The 4 people around the conference table had their heads in agreement with the fond memories of Charlie. Each said in a silent prayer in his memory. Then, in his accustomed manner, Buckland barked, well, what are we going to call it? Knowing the question would be raised, Sharon and Greg stood and walked to the head of the table. As you know, Mr. Buckland originally suggested to me, I have jotted notes from every interview and recorded almost every moral learned along the ride. Greg said proudly. Within that said, the title seems to be very obvious. I'm Max. Sharon put in. She took the notepad and slid it across the table like a schooner at a beer in a West saloon. Everyone read the word handwritten on the cover of the notebook. I have my own notebook, man. Y'all don't even know. Which itself was stained and dog-earned from a constant use. They laughed, applauded, and agreed. That's perfect. As they stood to say their goodbyes at the conclusion of the conference, they shared warm and loving hugs and of appreciation. Buckland came over to Greg and offered him a token of what would be most understandable. As in a matter of fact, a lot of facts here. In a matter-of-fact way, Buckland agreed that the very same jacket Greg had returned to him at the office when we had first met here, he had whispered, I think this belongs to you. Accepting the gift without fanfare, the young student knew exactly what the gesture meant. The student was becoming the teacher, and with his symbolic gesture of stepping onto the next chapter in his life, reaching down to the conference table, Greg picked up his pad with a smile on his face. Walking out the door, he looked back and saw the same warm smile on Jonathan Buckland's face. He rubbed his fingers across the letters that had written on the cover so long ago. They seemed to summarize the entire process. The years of struggle, the lack of direction in his life, the gift of Buckland's mentorship that renewed the relationship with Maya, David's miraculous turnaround with the help of a higher power, the incredible stories of perseverance and achievement, and the ability to share his newly acquired knowledge with others. What a journey it had been, and who would have known that what had laid ahead for him in his life? Who would have guessed that in the same words whispered by his mentors in the very first meeting would have so inspired his own path to success? Sliding the pad into his no-coat pocket, Greg smiled to himself at the words that had said, awe, reminding him that he was always 3 feet from gold. Let me take it back. That was the launch. Chapter 21. Through the feet, through the feet, through 3 feet from gold, the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Like I said, this is my affirmation video. I just wrote it all here from that book. And 3 feet from gold, Napoleon Hill Foundation, my affirmation video from that book. And that's it. I appreciate you. I hope you were listening. I'm Max. And I'll talk to you later.